On October 25, 1861, at a shipyard in Brooklyn, New York, the keel of a new kind of warship is laid, one destined to change naval warfare forever. The ship is called the Monitor, and though small and strange-looking, it soon faces the Confederates' own ironclad vessel in a battle that signals the end of the age of wooden warships. But who designed the Monitor? And what made it so different from anything that had come before? Well, by late 1861, the American Civil War had spread to the seas. The Union Navy relied on a blockade to choke off Southern trade, but the Confederacy had a secret weapon, an old Union ship raised from the bottom of the harbor at Norfolk, Virginia. That ship was the USS Merrimack, burned and sunk when the Union abandoned the naval yard months earlier. The Confederates rebuilt it from the hull up, covering its slanted sides with thick iron plates and renaming it the CSS Virginia. It had 12 cannons fixed along the sides, front, and back. If the Virginia could break the blockade, it might open southern ports and change the course of the war. To counter this threat, the Union turned to an unlikely inventor, John Ericsson, a Swedish-born engineer known as much for controversy as for genius. Ericsson's new design looked nothing like a traditional warship. It was low to the water, almost flat, with an iron deck and a single revolving gun turret in the center, a feature never before seen in battle. Critics mocked it as a cheese box on a raft, but the U.S. Navy was desperate, and construction began immediately. On October 25, 1861, the Monitor's keel was laid at Continental Iron Works in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Ericsson promised delivery in just 100 days. Working through the winter, hundreds of men labored around the clock. Every part of the Monitor was a first of its kind: the engines, the ventilation, even the anchor system. Ericsson's design solved problems that shipbuilders had never faced before, like how to keep the crew alive inside a sealed iron hull where air could barely circulate. By January, the ship's iron turret, weighing over 100 tons, was ready. Inside it were two 11-inch Dahlgren guns, massive smoothbore cannons capable of firing 170-pound shells. The Monitor launched from Brooklyn on January 30th, 1862, beating its 100-day goal. Lieutenant John L. Worden was in command. It quickly steamed south to meet its destiny. On March 8th, the CSS Virginia attacked Union ships near Norfolk at Hampton Roads, sinking two wooden vessels with ease. The next day, the Monitor arrived and confronted the Confederate ironclad head-on. For 4 hours, the two armored crafts circled and fired at point-blank range. Cannonballs bounced off their iron plates. Smoke and steam filled the air. Although it had only 2 cannons to the Virginia's 12, the Monitor's revolving turret allowed it to fire in any direction. Neither ship could destroy the other, but the age of wooden navies ended that day. The Monitor's construction began as a desperate experiment, but it became a symbol of industrial ingenuity and modern warfare. Within a year, navies around the world were building ironclads of their own. The Monitor sank in a storm in December 1862 off Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. All but 16 of the crew were rescued by the USS Rhode Island. More than 100 years later, in 1973, the wreck of the Monitor was rediscovered. A number of artifacts from the ship has since been recovered. The turret was salvaged in 2002 and is now housed at the Mariners Museum in Newport News, Virginia, in a specially designed tank that is filled with a chemical solution to help preserve it. The remains of 2 of the sailors lost when the ship went down were also recovered, although not identified, and buried with full honors at Arlington National Cemetery in 2013. Their grave is marked with a monument honoring all 16 sailors. But it all started on October 25, 1861, when a group of builders in a Brooklyn shipyard laid down the keel of a strange little vessel called the Monitor, not knowing they were launching the future of naval warfare. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1415, archers turned the tide, bringing England a victory over the French at Agincourt. In 1774, the First Continental Congress argues against the Intolerable Acts in a petition to the king. In 1881, influential and prolific artist Pablo Picasso is born in Malaga, Spain. In 1944, a desperate Japan unleashes its first kamikaze strike against an American warship. In 1971, after years of negotiations, Communist China replaces Taiwan in the UN. In 1983, US Marines invade Grenada after the execution of the Caribbean nation's leader. In 2017, Nashville stages a star-studded farewell concert for Kenny Rogers' retirement. And now it's time for our Today in History quiz. When did the Erie Canal open? 1815, 1825, 1835, or 1845? Liked learning about the USS Monitor? Then you'll love this one about another iconic ship, the USS Texas. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.